welcome to our guests. We'll get going on that in a little bit. I mentioned, you may have heard me, I regret to tell you that Bonnie Kenny is resigning. And after Laura Gillespie Lee, she's going to hang on until after town meeting. I don't know yet what Bonnie's going to stay for that, or she's going to just have to call it. But that's too bad. They're both good team members. So hopefully Michael will get right on finding a couple new ones here. So I am Jack Brown. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. And our intent in these meetings is to understand, in your case as petitioners, what your projects are about, what your thinking is about, and so on, so we can understand a little bit better. It's not to represent what you do. It's not necessary that we agree or disagree, but we want to hear from you. At the same time, we'll be asking questions. Once we hear from you, then we'll be asking questions. I'm going to ask us to try to stick to about 15 to 20 minutes max. We have got a lot of stuff to do tonight, and hopefully you can make your points within that timeline. So, Chris, do you want to explain who you are, why you're here?
Sure. I'm happy to defer to allow folks to...
Let's take a minute. Just take a minute to introduce yourself.
Maybe just for the record.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the budget adjustment while I'm here?
No, we'll do that there.
Okay, we'll do that after. So just for the record, I'm Christopher Clark. I'm the town administrator here in the community. I've been the administrator for a little over 5 years, and certainly work with individual groups to go through and make sure we try to have an orderly town meeting, and to make sure that people want to have their articles considered, that we have their articles considered in an appropriate manner.
Okay, and this is Carol Coppola, town finance manager. A pretty talented person, and good to have around. So would you introduce yourselves?
They should probably come up and use the
Okay.
microphone, just so
That's fine.
it's being recorded. For folks that might be here.
All right.
Sit here. Over here. You sit here.
Well, good evening. Thank you. I am Patrick Otten. Brought the article before for consideration for the town meeting. And
Bonnie Bridges, I think it's Article 54, having to do with the bottle ban. And you should have received a copy of the amended.
so just very briefly, you know, there's no question about the toxicity of plastics, both in its manufacture, its use, and attempted disposal. So our objective is to start minimizing plastic, especially here on the Cape, which is a destination resource. If our beaches are clean, if our woodlands are clean and free of plastic, people will be appreciating that, okay? Why am I before a government body? It's because government has a responsibility to ensure the health and welfare of its citizens. So already the EU has banned plastics. San Francisco has banned plastics. Here in Massachusetts, Concord has banned plastics, okay? On the islands, they're banning plastics. West Tisbury has banned the sale of plastic bottles, okay? So for town meetings this spring, in Sandwich, Yarmouth, Dennis, Brewster, Chatham, Orleans, Wellfleet, and here, all considering a municipal ban on plastics. So that's why we're here. We proposed a municipal ban on the sale of plastics. And the original article has been amended. Both the fire department has reviewed this. They had initial concerns. DPW, Lincoln Hooper,
Hooper.
has reviewed it and I've made amended changes as well. So I'm before you now to let you also consider the amended changes in the proposed article and have a discussion with you.
Okay. Anything you'd like to say?
No, it's going to be any beverage in plastic containers, procurement, did we say procurement? And the sale on the land, on municipal land. But there have been some questions as to events, as in Cranberry Festival and others like that, and we are working on that. There are other vehicles besides plastic bottles available. You can buy aluminum cans with water in it by the I think it's 2448, and we're working on that with Ed McManus, so.
What's
Okay.
an alternative, though? Bring your own and refill it. Get back to that old habit, okay?
There is good water in our tap.
That's true.
Very good.
So we're lucky here in Harwich to have good tap water, so why not use it, okay?
Okay.
So one of the major concerns was the addition of the phrase, "any town department when engaged in public safety." That could be shoveling snow, it could be fighting a fire, it could be catching dogs. Shall be exempt from this bylaw, okay? So the fire had concern when they're fighting fires, their men need water and they have it in bottles. Same thing for plowing snow. Okay, Link was concerned with that, so it's exempt
Okay.
for town operations. We also added the phrase, when would it go into effect? As soon as practicable, but no later than the beginning of next year, January 1st.
Okay. Good. All right. Angelo, any questions or comments right now? John?
Hi, John Shore. I got just a couple questions. How do you expect to have the ban enforced? We pass it at town meeting, who's going to enforce it?
You know, that's a difficult question, okay? I think it'll be self-enforcing since it's a town regulation of not having the town distribute or sell water. So, such as at the community center, will they still have the vending machines there that are distributing plastic bottles? No, those will be removed. So the town is responsible for that, okay? Chris Clark,
If you like, just I will comment on this. A couple of years ago, there was a effort to eliminate plastic bags. And the plastic bag ban was geared around the point of sale. And what we did, I don't think the Board of Selectmen was enamored with it, the town meeting voted it, so it becomes the rule of the land and it needs to be enforced by administration. So the approach we took on the plastic bag ban was that we identified retailers that used plastic bags on a consistent basis, and we actually had the enforcement agent was the Board of Health, because they do a lot of food establishment permits. So we actually sent out, I'm a big believer in education first, so if this were to pass at town meeting in May, we would do an education campaign to retailers that they would be advised of this, that this is now a regulation. And this is not for, this is really for town properties.
well, this is also town of Harwich. It's not yet retail restrictions, so it's not a commercial ban, not yet. We're simply taking the initial step of saying the town of Harwich. So we're bringing it up a threshold to begin putting it into people's mindset. What am I doing with this plastic bottle? Okay.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to use the plastic bag just as a concept, that we did have that, and we did come up with a strategy to implement it. On this, exactly as pointed out, any of the town operations, we would certainly have a staff meeting and determine how we're going to engage in this activity and find alternatives, so town operation-wise. And I do appreciate working with the proponents, because one of the things they had was dispensing on town property. And dispensing means literally if a mother's on the beach and she's pouring you know, a gallon of milk, not milk necessarily, but a gallon of iced tea or something into a plastic container, that would mean that our lifeguards would have to enforce. So the article, as worded, has that in there. The motion would be more restrictive to then just have, or the town could not procure, other than for public safety emergencies, the water bottles. And then the areas where we do have it, where we do dispense, like at the community center, we would just have those changed out, the plastic bottles to cans or what have you. So we would do it organizationally, internal, and that would be something that would be administered through town administration.
John?
If someone does violate it, what are the penalties?
Good question. I don't have an answer for that yet. Yeah. So, the someone, again, being the town. So we're talking about the town of Harwich. So if at the community center, there's still vending machines dispensing plastic bottles as of January 1st, 2020, help me out. Who would I go to?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably the police, but I know that it has been working very well in the high school. Monomoy High School has refill machines, and the kids are just used to bringing their own bottles and refilling. They do have vending machines, but they're all pretty much, they're not paying for your water.
Well, I would imagine that the,
Prohibited from selling it to on town properties? Would that encompass those folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would have enough warning that they would have to find some other container. than plastic.
And right now, having a plastic bottle on Red River Beach is still allowed. If you pass this law passed, the person still can bring
Yes.
plastic bottles.
As an
on town
individual,
property.
you can still bring your plastic bottle. Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Dan?
You mentioned aluminum cans as being another kind of acceptable receptacle. Are there any other receptacles that come to mind that could be?
Well, like,
substituted?
they have orange juice, those kind of are probably cardboard or some kind of board with the plastic liner in them. But, and the juice boxes, there are other things they can use.
And I think, you know, John's point about enforcement, I think it's going to be a tricky implementation issue. And we'll see.
Well, you know, the good news is that it's the town of Harwich, and Mr. Clark is its top administrator. So we know right where they should go to. He may duck out for a month or something while it gets started up.
The bottle.
Tom?
Well, just a little, because, you know, I'm reading through again. Says the procurement by the town of Harwich of either water or other beverages in plastic containers, fine. And the dispensing of water or any beverage in plastic containers, so the food vendors can't pour them into plastic cups. But I can still go to Stop and Shop and grab me a case of water and go down to Red River and sit down on the beach and drink my water.
At this point,
So that's not an issue, it's just that the town itself, we clear our machines out of plastic. The dispensing one, I got an issue, a neat point of understanding, if you will. So if mom shows up with the big Arnold Palmer iced tea, and she's pouring iced tea out to her kids on the beach,
That's fine.
well,
Again,
it's dispensing, I mean, I think so.
well, no, there's a change, so there's a difference between the first paragraph original text to the change in the text.
So
Okay.
just to clarify, because that's a great point, we cannot modify the language that was submitted in the article.
Right, it would have to be as,
So it's being presented as submitted. what's being recommended here is that the motion that would be before town meeting will just be on the point of sale and procurement by the town. So the dispensing element would be eliminated. It does mean though, and I just want to be clear, and I appreciate that they're willing to give us a little bit of time, we have food vending trucks that go to a lot of our beaches. So for this year, there would be no change. We would advise the vendors that in future contracts, they would have to comply. We have a second one that's being considered no straws, no plastic straws. So as an organization, we would have to start to make adjustments to those contracts to prohibit them from using plastic in their sale.
Paper, wax cups, whatever, things of
Yes.
that nature. And just point of, it's in the warrant is Article 50, 50 even.
It
not
is,
50.
okay.
Has it changed? Okay.
I had heard that.
All
And
right.
also, the other towns on the Cape will be doing this, so we're not going to be by ourselves, and people will be getting used to this.
All of the other towns?
We're
Or-
going to be bringing it before, if not in May, it will be in October. The rest, I think there are 5 towns that
Okay,
are still,
all right.
So again, for this session of spring consideration, it's Yarmouth, Dennis, Brewster, Chatham, Orleans, Wellfleet, Sandwich, and Harwich that are all considering this. It's already passed in P-Town. Okay.
Okay.
The,
Anything else, Tom?
No, just curious, as John mentioned, that the enforcement of it's gonna be, you know, that's, again,
He's sitting
point
here.
fingers, but it's just, you know, we're gonna be the plastic police running around, it just,
and big
What-
signs. There'll be signs.
I think with proper signage, and I think with, you know, okay, this is a learning period, and then after this year, we pass it on, then hopefully we're better educated and more, you know, more compliant, save my planet.
Well,
This
thank
is
you.
Dana DaCosta, the former chairman. Dana, do you want to have any questions or comments?
I'll just make a comment. As I have said before at different public meetings, I think this is something that should be discussed on Beacon Hill or up there at the state level, rather than trying to do it from the town level. I've said at many meetings that I don't care what the other towns are doing. This is Harwich, and we have to make this rule for Harwich. And reading the language even, I mean, I'll be able to see what the amendments that are proposed, and maybe that could be enough to change my mind, but at this point, the way the language reads, I'm not interested in supporting this for a couple of reasons. One, the financial reason, I think it puts a burden on the town to enforce this and educate people to this. That doesn't always get considered when somebody tries to bring in a rule like this. And I think it should go through the Charter and Bylaw Committee that way and come in as a bylaw rather than as a petition article. I think it's something that's takes time to plan and takes time to bring forward. And I just know that from what it does to our town, as soon as this becomes law, we're not ready for it. And I don't think that we should have to rush around and get ready for it this quickly with all of our vendors and all of our town stuff that we do. This causes a burden for town employees that you're not willing to take on for yourself. You're not asking for the private sector to do this, you're asking for the town to do this. This causes a burden on the town employees, the way it reads, and I don't support it for that reason.
Chris, how long would it take to get ready, in your judgment?
I think that, and you weren't here for some of the changes that they proposed, but eliminating public safeties and other activities. You know, there's significant concern about making sure that we have plastic laws, as was alluded to, for firefighters, for DPW, for lifeguards, people of that nature. There's not a single viable alternative. I do think, you know, it's reasonable to give us 6 months to do it. We certainly did, within 6 months, the plastic bag ban, which was a lot more establishments. And this is really just town operations.
Right.
So I think it is more manageable from that perspective. there probably will be more cost, and I think that the point is well taken, that there will be probably some additional cost to these operations as we make some of these changes
This-
to that. And for instance, one thing I alluded to, I think we have already started a process of putting in bubblers that have the water dispenser for bottles.
Mhm.
So to encourage people to do that, I've gotten a little bit of education in terms of how much that is. But I think the more we make those locations available, then we provide a much more viable alternative for people to be able to do that in town operations.
This
But,
could read in.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
6 months
No,
is reasonable.
you go ahead.
Just on that bubbler, I had a question about that, again, the way it reads, and I don't know what the changes, I apologize for being late. If someone puts a plastic container underneath that bubbler and then they're in town hall pouring that,
It's for, they changed it so the motion will not be for dispensing, just for the point of sale. So it's the town.
so the town cannot purchase.
We cannot purchase other than for public safety type things, but we cannot have a sale out of it on town property. So
So-
the vendors, the food truck vendors would have to change their operation for next summer.
And the things we do at the parks and stuff, so forth.
Right. I would not, as I alluded to in our conversation, changing out and putting bubblers in every single one of our bathrooms throughout the community is going to be, a little bit of a ticket item. But I think it may be something that we want to head in that direction, where we have bathrooms at just about every beach. The bathroom has an electric source, has a water source, so doing the bubbler is certainly a possibility. So it is possible, but I think organizationally, that's going to take a little bit of time to identify those locations, identify the cost, and how would we commence to do that, to encourage people using their own bottles.
Yes.
And so that's my final thought, really, is that, again, the proposal would be, and you're doing a great job of educating people and getting this message out there, and I think that's a great start. I think making the law, and then 6 months from now, trying to get it implemented can work the other way, too. Let's spend the next 6 months to a year preparing ourselves and then have the law come in next year. I don't see any harm in that. I don't see any harm in this getting postponed a year. Maybe the other towns all go for it and that helps us in that case, but I don't see in Harwich a problem with delaying this 1 year. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way I feel about it.
Okay. Angela?
I agree with you. Because I.
Could you say that again?
Only that
Why
I
would we-
use. But the issue I have is, I read this a number of times, is you're brought in a petition article to do what you want to do by having the town be the person who has to pick it up and do it. I think it's confusing to a lot of people. I think you're absolutely right, and the people at town meeting are more likely to vote for this than if you did the simple thing that you would want to do, of saying you can't sell plastic bottles, there'll be never plastic bottles in town. So I think you're going after the wrong target, and it's just a cute way of getting people.
Was there a motion to
vote for it.
reconsider?
You
Where are
want
we
to petition.
procedurally?
That's
now?
all it is.
This is,
That's the whole
discuss-
town.
just discussing
It's all-
this article.
We haven't reconsidered.
No plastic bottles, period. And I think that's what you should be doing, rather than trying to take little corners off and make problems. So if you didn't do it for 6 months, what difference is it to you?
If-
Not a lot of plastic bottles go through here, compare it to the 10,000 other people that are buying the plastic bottles. So you're packing a small piece, and our meeting might be thrilled and stuck with what Chris got, they want to plastic bottle. If they can have it, they can do whatever they want with it. So I don't know why you're doing it this way.
The
John?
idea was as a
Excuse me.
stepping stone, I'm sorry.
John?
Last question, how much does a case of glass bottles cost versus, or a case of aluminum bottles versus a case of plastic bottles?
Right, so Selectman Ed McManus looked into that question, and he used this as the example of canned water, and this is $2. You'd only be making about, I think, 15 cents versus $1.50. So if you sell this, you make 15 cents profit versus the plastic bottle, which is 10 times at $1.50, okay, profit. So this is more expensive. Profits are less going with the can than the plastic bottle.
Talking about profits, how much does a case of glass bottles cost versus a case of plastic bottles cost?
Glass, we don't know.
Glass,
Or aluminum?
yeah, this is aluminum.
How much is a case of the aluminum bottles?
This is $24 for a case of 24.
$24?
20,
No, it's, oh,
50,
like,
$50
yeah, no, it's more than that. I think it was about 100.
for 24?
Yeah,
$100? for
I
a
don't
case?
recall. I don't,
yeah, and she looked into it.
That's $4 a bottle. Plus,
I don't recall.
I think they were 48. I can't remember.
Get the numbers together.
I can buy a case of plastic bottles at
Yeah.
Shaw's for $2.99,
Right.
24 bottles.
I can get them cheaper than that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did you have a comment that I cut you off on?
Not now. I don't. I'm sorry.
May I just say that
Absolutely.
there is also an expense of cleaning our beaches, and most of the, I mean, we've gone to the beaches for cleanup, and most of it are plastic, not
Yeah.
always bottles, but majority are
We had,
plastic.
I noticed the other day, Chris, Red River Beach had been groomed, and it was really beautiful. Nice job. Yes, Dana?
That's probably true on the plastic, but if the world changes to aluminum, you're gonna have the same problem with aluminum. Might be more,
Aluminum is bio,
or glass, you can't let glass on the beaches, that just can't happen.
but aluminum is biodegradable, unlike plastic.
Yeah. Tom?
Couple points. I'll agree with you as well, Dana.
Could you stand up and say?
But again, this should be something maybe statewide where you put a deposit, put a nickel deposit on it, and if the people don't pick it up, normally people will go by and pick up the bottles and get the nickel back, okay? So that's kind of like self-policing. Also, you know, your article is the way it's stated in the warrant, but without the motion to amend the article, the way it stands now, I'm against it. And if you present it on town meeting and you do make the motion to amend the article, and then the town hears it, that could be a whole different story, but the way it's written right now, I am against it,
We
sorry.
plan to amend it on the floor.
Okay, but, like, you know, this, the way it's written now, without the amendments, I'm
Sure.
against.
So,
So,
Okay. Yes, sir.
looking at my notes, a case of 24 is $29.95.
So it's like $1.10 a
10 times.
bottle, probably, something like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for you? Anything further you want to add?
No,
No.
no.
Good, that's good. Thank you.
So,
Okay, so appreciate that. And later on today and maybe in the next week, we'll be considering this and be going to town meeting with something. All right?
we will hear from you?
No,
No?
I won't. I mean,
Okay.
I
can we
hadn't
check
planned
with
on it.
somebody? Is there
Yeah.
someone?
Mr. Chairman, can I
You
make
come
a
to any public
suggestion?
meeting. That's right. And
Okay.
We'll be on for next week. Dana?
I'll be willing to get back to you if you leave your contact information, but I would say that from this board's point of view, based on the language, we have recommended that we indefinitely postpone the article at town meeting. We could potentially, I'm not guaranteeing it, but we could possibly discuss it again if we have the motion in front of us that you're gonna make on town meeting floor. So if we have that motion, because we don't vote on articles at town meeting, we vote on motions. And if the motion is in front of us, maybe we could reconsider it and discuss it again, and there might be an alternative vote. And I'll let you know the results of that vote. But right now, at the moment, we're not recommending that this article go forward.
So you're working with Chris?
Yes.
Okay, so as soon as that gets done, you know, we'll want to see it, and we'll be meeting,
That would be the next opportunity to take some action.
right? Okay?
So my understanding, I'm confused, just help me with the technicality. We have suggested 3 changes in the original article, and I was told to bring that to town meeting as an amendment to the original article. You're stating to make a motion, and that you would consider a motion? Help me understand.
The process is that we take what was already developed, and Chris finalizes it, and then at town meeting, I or Dana or one of our members will get up and say, I move that.
Okay.
And it may look surprisingly like everything else that just came before it, but it basically is, that is the key thing, is that, what is that motion,
Okay.
all right?
And when do you have time to discuss it?
You don't have to do it.
We-
You've
we
got-
meet-
No, when do you have time?
We meet just prior to
doing.
town meeting
Gotcha.
at, usually town meeting starts at 7, we meet at 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
and we discuss everything that's coming before us between then and town meeting, so,
Okay.
if there was a motion in front of us, we would have the chance to, otherwise we'll be doing it at the head table as the motion is made, going, do we agree with this change or don't agree with it? It's very awkward, but we can do it.
So we
and have
have-
done it. But if we have it prior to the meeting at 6 o'clock,
Okay.
we can discuss it and decide whether we're gonna help you or argue against you. It's no,
We have time from this moment forward to town meeting to work all this stuff. Okay, our committee, my committee does.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so hopefully we'll do a good job.
great.
Chris?
So they are on for the selectmen's meeting on Monday night. If I kind of hear something here, I think what I'll do is I'll work with them to revise the motion consistent with the 3 points that they made on the
Yeah.
revisions. And then, once we have a draft ready to go on that, I'll distribute that around.
Right.
And that way, if you want to take it up earlier, so we're not doing everything the night of town meeting, which I appreciate, that we can then have a discussion, so you'll know what the revised
Right,
motion.
that would be ideal.
Okay.
Good.
Got it.
All right.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
all of you, for your comments. I appreciate your feedback. It's good to hear. Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana, telephone numbers on the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Okay,
can
thank you
text-
very much.
You can text
Thank
me
you.
or write to me there.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So I thought we were gonna have, I thought there was gonna be one more petition article, but I guess not. Didn't get here.
I asked Tom Birch to show up, but I highlighted the 2, 4,
Where do you want to start?
6, 8, 9 we have that we have no position on.
Where do you want
I
to
was
start?
just gonna check with them if they have any position on anything. Is that all right?
And the plastic
Yeah.
straw.
We'll get to that one, yes.
Very popular.
Do we have a final number for snow and ice yet? Okay. We don't, do we have a final number for, I'm sure this is, there's a lot to it, but shortfalls on the budget transfers? No, okay. The next one we have is,
Just on the shortfalls on the budget, I just want to make sure that there's a clear understanding. That's for any budget amendments or changes. And it is administration's recommendation that we are going to receive, or have received already, $520,000 from Cape Cod Municipal Health Group for the purposes of funding OPEB. So it is my intent to put that in as a transfer article, which would just be a simple pass-through the town receives, or I think we probably have already received, I think it was supposed to be in by last Friday, that if we receive that and have it in the accounts, we need to account for it, obviously, at town meeting, and just let town meeting know under that article. So it'd be 520-something thousand, but it's all good. I mean, it's new money that will be put into the OPEB trust fund.
While we're talking money, when Link Hooper gave us a reserve transfer request, we only funded part of what he wanted. So basically, we'd have enough funds to get through the year with our reserve.
Yes.
And he would have some time to maybe figure out if there's something he could do or he wants to defer.
So there's there's bad news and bad news.
There were yeah, there were.
Should I leave, or?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the bad news is that he has reviewed his budget, and, well, it's good news and bad news. We're continuing to have high levels of solid waste come in, and the C and D. So we obviously make money when those come in.
Right.
We do recover our funding, but we budget at a certain level. He anticipates that his shortfall will be about $100,000. So there will be a 100,000. The requests that we made for those various, I think transfers related, or the reserve fund transfer related to some equipment breakdowns. He hopes that it will only be 100, that he won't need any additional money from that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in at 100,000 for MSW, municipal solid waste, and then maybe 10 to 20,000 on the equipment and the retirements.
As far as I'm concerned right now, we still don't have a whole lot of money left in our reserve.
That's correct.
To get us through the rest of the year. Yes, Carol?
So just to let you know that I'm currently working with the departments on these budget shortfalls. So at this point in time, we will have more that come forward in that article for various items such as workers' comp and unemployment compensation and things of that nature.
Okay, good, thank you. Dana?
The reason I brought it up is we have like 9 articles that we have no position on yet, and I was hoping we could get through 1 or 2 of them, but that one's obviously out for tonight.
Yeah, for tonight.
Carry on.
The next one is 51, resolution to refrain from town funds for enforcement with the police and other stuff.
Immigration.
Immigration enforcement. We have no position on that.
I
Do we want to take a position on that? John? I don't know, it's up to him.
John?
I just want to speak to the Article 51. I did meet with Marina Legend, the police department, to learn more about it, about the article, which I did learn more about. And I also met with the chief to get his position on it. And I tend to agree with the chief's position. But there's 2 federal statutes listed in her article. And he has to uphold those statutes as part of his job, and I support that.
Yeah.
That's, if you
Right.
want to vote on it, I'm happy to.
Right now, I don't support it, and I don't support it because the local police should be working on local issues, not working on the national policy of what we do on this serious problem. You know, and I think he certainly has my respect for all the things they have to deal with, but I don't think that this is our local police's job to worry about what the feds are doing.
And to that point, I asked the chief, I think in your 4 years, how many times ICE has contacted him? And he thought only one time, and it was more in regards to a brother of someone they had stopped. They were trying to find the brother of the person they stopped.
Yeah, good.
So it's not a daily.
It's not
occurrence
every
at
day.
all.
Yeah. Okay. Dana?
Just procedurally, I'll make a motion to reconsider Article 51.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any
We have no
discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Go ahead.
I move we indefinitely postpone Article 51.
I'll second that.
Second from Dan. Any objection? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Unanimous. Thank you.
How many are there? 2, 4, 6.
We got 6. Just when we had 9, just a few weeks ago.
I know it. I've
Oh.
heard for 2 of them, they aren't going to be
Yeah.
again. Article 53 is the amend the general bylaw, single-use plastic straws. We have no recommendation on that.
Is there a motion for the purpose of discussion?
I move we reconsider Article
All
53.
right. Is there a second from Tom? Okay. Discussion? This is one of those, just like the glass bottles and all that you got to, if you're going to get started, and it'll start to make a difference. And that's all positive. On the downside is, it's gonna have some form of effect. It's inevitable, it has to. But it could also mean that this finally causes the vendors to switch over to cardboard straws or whatever they use. And that's not bad. I mean, that's good for our, you see these damn whales coming in with 50 pounds of straws, plastic straws and other plastics, plastic
Don't
bags.
exaggerate now.
Plastic bags, whole bit. You gotta get started.
Well, we have a
And it's
motion
not
to
onerous.
reconsider right at the moment.
Oh, I
We
thought
didn't vote that.
I thought we did vote it.
To reconsider it?
I thought we did. Well, I guess we didn't.
Well, we didn't make a recommendation.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay.
There you go. Same, I repeat.
What he just said.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess that, again, from what I've looked into the article, that this is another one that should be
You know-
brought from higher above. It shouldn't be the town of Harwich deciding for the rest of the nation as it's being proposed, and for the rest of the state as it's being proposed. It will make a difference to local businesses here. It will cost them more money.
So a plastic straw is more expensive than a paper straw.
A paper straw is 10 times more expensive than a plastic straw, and they don't have the shelf life, so people who are in small businesses can't order them in bulk and keep them on the shelf waiting to use them because they'll deteriorate over time. They go into the same landfill stream as plastic straws. When they're in the ground, they take a long time to deteriorate, not as long as plastic, but they still go into the same waste stream. I just don't see, for the same point of view as the plastic bottles, why we're asking to pass this in Harwich. Someone should already be saying, we've passed this statewide, or we've passed this nationally, to help save everything that we're trying to save. We also know that paper straws do happen to kill birds. They break them up and they eat them and they kill the birds. So we're saving the wildlife in the oceans to kill off the birds. It's not right for the town of Harwich, my opinion.
Oh, yeah. No offense, I don't agree at all. And so-
We don't have a motion, so I'll make a motion to indefinitely postpone.
Second. I think we have to be consistent with probable versus this.
Yeah? Tom?
You're not gonna get a plastic straw unless you have something to stick in it.
Right.
And normally it's a plastic cup. So you're
Right.
gonna get a plastic to-go cup, you're gonna stick your plastic straw in, and hopefully you'll dispose of both together in the proper receptacle.
Excuse me,
But,
I
you know,
apologize.
to Dana's, comment as far as the paper, whether I stick a paper straw in my plastic cup or I stick a plastic straw in my plastic cup, I'm gonna drink my soda and I'm gonna walk around, and if I don't put it in the right receptacle on the beach, it's gonna be rolling out to sea. I don't think it's our job to do that. I think if it's that big of a deal, something should just ban all of them.
Well, the bottle industry would prevent that from happening. So. Angela?
Yeah, I think this is a little different than the prior discussion, because what this does is ban sale or use, period, from anybody who serves food, restaurants, supermarkets, or anything. That I think is very different than it was previously. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but I mean, it is different in that way.
Tom. Chris?
Which one is he?
Sorry, Chris.
Just on this, I won't necessarily get into the merits, but at least it's constructed a little bit better. So it has a fine mechanism, it has a point of enforcement for retail establishments or food establishments. So at least there's a better opportunity for us to try to enforce this than the other one was a little bit vague, and obviously trying to work with people to make it a little bit clearer. But this one at least was constructed a little bit sounder, so we would have a better chance of enforcing it. But to the point, I mean, whether it's local or state, I mean, that's up to you guys.
Dana?
By definition, there's a lot of things that go into cups to stir them that are plastic tubes with holes in the middle that would meet this definition of a plastic straw. And we're talking about eliminating them town-wide in a matter of months. It's not practical. I mean, it's not I mean, it says it has a year, it was well-constructed, and she's not here, Lori was not here, but you're correct, it was done properly and all that kind of stuff. To me, I still feel strongly that it should be done at the state level, statewide. Let's make a declaration about our oceans that way.
Well,
Let's
you
not
can't-
do it townwide.
But you can't make that impact if you're not willing to take a firm stand. Okay? Well, shrug, but I mean, putting it as a not recommended, that's not a strong sign of I support this on the part of the committee if we were to go down that path. I think you'd be shocked at how quickly a vendor would switch from plastic to paper or wood, and the customer would say, customer doesn't care. Whatever one you put in front of them in a can, they're going to use. Okay, and I think that'll come very quickly. But one man's opinion. Dana?
I just think from all practical point of view that the finance committee doesn't have to get into this fight. There is going to be a motion, a positive motion
yeah.
made at town meeting, whether we are for it or
Right.
against it. They're going to debate it. Town meeting's going to decide it. Whether we sit on our hands and vocally get up or not is up to each individual on the committee, but, I mean, let the town meeting decide it. I just don't think we have to be into the fray. Right now, it's going to print with no recommendation, but we have to have some sort of position on it. And I'm just saying indefinitely postpone it allows us not to make the motion, allows us to sit on our hands if we want to, but if somebody feels strongly about it, they can get up and talk about it. And we stay cleaner that way, that's all. Just thinking of the whole optics of the thing, whatever.
I think the optics look terrible if we don't do anything about it. We have a motion before us. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One.
So 5-1,
Thank you. Good. What's
making
next?
progress.
Yep.
55 is require the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee to record their individual votes. I'll move to reconsider just to discuss it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dana?
You want to say all those in favor?
Pardon me?
You want to vote on that? To
I thought we did.
reconsider it? There was a second. No, we didn't vote to
Oh,
reconsider.
wow, excuse me. Thank you, Dana.
Just trying to help.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Again, I'm
Motion?
hoping to hear from the Board of Selectmen as to what they're planning to do, but,
Yeah, just,
okay, we need a motion.
Motion and a second, please.
We already do it. I move we accept and adopt it, just to
Second.
discuss it.
Second.
Second from Tom. All those,
Wait,
Well, you want- go
let's
ahead.
discuss
All
it
right,
first.
we'll discuss
I
it.
did have a conversation with John Giorgio. We kind of started to work our way through these just to get better guidance. One of the things that I had asked him was, in traditional minutes, you would generally see who's in attendance, and then you would record the vote and just say the two negatives, if there's two negatives or one negative. But in this case, because you guys vote over a period of time, everyone's name would have to be on each individual vote. So it would be a little bit more cumbersome to do. And the other thing, actually, that he had said, just thinking about it, this was not submitted in the form of a bylaw. So this was submitted as a request to record the votes. So according to John Giorgio, the attorney, and I try to make sure I give due diligence to his name when I use it, that this would be simply advisory for the selectmen and FinCom to put this in the book, because they did not put it into a form such as a bylaw that would make it enforceable.
Okay.
So the construction of it is
Got it.
kind of a spirit of the meeting.
Dana?
Could we amend that, though? Could we narrow it and say to record the votes of the committee instead of the individual votes? In other words, I don't think we have an objection to two things. First off, I don't think we want to put everybody's name in the warrant on every single vote. That is just way too cumbersome to do?
The hesitation, if you don't mind, I mean, think about it tonight. You know, your last meeting, you had two ladies here.
Right.
And a 5-2 vote,
Right,
you know, from 2 weeks ago versus a 5-2 vote tonight, it's different people.
right.
So from a mechanics standpoint, if he
It's-
wants to have the name of the people who voted a certain way, you're always, not always shifting, but you know what I mean, there's not always a consistency.
There's always
of
more
having a full
information that
house.
comes forward and more debate. And the other thing is, if somebody were to ever ask on a 5-2 vote, who were the two and what did they, as long as they gave a proper minority report, they can do that. I mean, it used to happen a lot at town meeting. I don't, as long as it's done properly, and the chairman or somebody's gonna stand up and say, well, you should know that that's a minority report if they don't do it properly, but as long as that's, we always tell who does what if somebody asks. I don't have a problem with that, but can we amend this with a motion, with our initial motion that says, and take out the word individual?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think by the way town meeting is constructed, you guys have the first opportunity to make a motion.
Right.
So if you made a motion that didn't accept it exactly, but had it modified a little bit, you could certainly put that on the floor, and then it would be up to, I think this is Mr. Sutphin that presented this, it would be up to him as to whether he wanted to agree or if he wanted to make further amendment.
When he sat with us, he did want to agree.
Angela?
I think there's a big difference in saying the vote was 5-2, rather than naming 5-2. And particularly now, because I would suggest that what we might do is if we put at the beginning of the minutes that it was televised on such and such a night, then the people could sit down and watch not only who voted on what, but can watch more importantly the discussion to see why they may have voted. And I think that's a good thing. And it wouldn't be hard, because it's only one line at the top of the meeting. And most of these meetings are being televised. And I think it's important, because otherwise then you get, him who always says no, it causes all sorts of problems.
Oh,
So all of them.
it's just Dana. Yes, Dana?
So I'll move to amend the motion to accept and adopt by amending the motion to strike out the individual voting records to change it to total voting records.
there a
of the-
second?
Of the committee.
Is
This
there a
is to
second?
amend the motion.
Second.
It says to see if the town will vote to require the individual voting records of the selectmen and the finance committee. I would just amend it to change the word individual to total voting records. And that would make it so that what we already do,
Wouldn't
8
have
to
to
5, 2 to 3, whatever, is there. We do that anyways, and it would be up to the Board of Selectmen, as this is just advisory, as to whether they do it or not. They used to do it, they have not doing it, whatever. So that's my amendment to the motion.
Tom?
Well, I would rather see the individual voting record shown, because to Angela's point, you're right. People can look and say, I'm gonna watch it on TV. But when is the next airing on Channel 18? It could be 2 days out, and I'm busy that night, so it's gonna be 4 days out. So if I wanna find out who voted for what, it could take me up to a week. It could be next meeting for the Board of Selectmen before I know who voted for what. So if I wanna know exactly, my representation on that board, what are they voting for? I would like to know who voted for what, because if I couldn't watch the meeting that night, I want to have a recording of it.
Dana?
But this article is about the inclusion in the warrant, and that's what we're talking about, just an inclusion in the warrant. And there's a big difference there. I mean, if we're talking about every single meeting, that information can be recorded in the minutes. I haven't been doing it, but we've been recording our total votes. We record who makes the motion and who makes the second, but we don't record everybody's individual vote. That could be easily done for the entire year, but what goes in the warrant, I don't think we want to have individual name. I think that's way too cumbersome to try and do, because you have meetings like this where we voted 8 to 9 to nothing one time. If we reconsider that with 6 people, that changes the names.
Right.
And we're gonna go back and change them and so forth, new information becomes available, that changes things. This is just about what's in the warrant, and I think having the total vote, even the petitioner themselves who sat here said the total vote was fine with him, I think that would be fine.
Okay, anybody else?
So you'd vote on the amendment first and then go back to the main motion.
What's the amendment we're on? We're on.
The amendment is on Article 55 to accept and adopt with the following change. Change the word individual to total voting records of the Selectmen and Finance Committee.
I like the individual votes recorded first. I know it might be cumbersome, logistically it might not work, but I like the concept of knowing who voted for what personally.
Anything further? Tom?
If I had a spreadsheet of the 9 members, now we're down to 7 members, and I just say, yay, no, yay, it's not cumbersome. It's not cumbersome. If we know what we're voting on, and I have a sheet with everybody's name on, okay, first vote, yay, nay, done. And then we have a tally. I don't think that should be an issue.
Okay, Dan?
I just question whether that adds any value to including individual voting records on the warrant. How does that add value?
It's funny, one of the thoughts I had was that in our country, the private vote is highly respected and hardly ever breached. And in town meeting, just the opposite is true. That in this situation we're talking about, and there's an inconsistency there that, you know, may be more important than we're giving it, or maybe less. I'm not sure, but, you know, we have to deal with this article, so. Angelo.
My concern is that when you just see the number, 5-2 or 4-3 or whatever that is, you don't know why that number's there, why people went that way. When you do look at it on television, or you go to the community center and they'll show you to you in 2 seconds, so you don't have to wait a week.
Right.
Or you can call him and he would tell you.
We do have them on demand, just FYI.
And you can put it, it's on your computer if you want to go chase it down. So that at least gives you the information rather than just the raw numbers. Obviously, with television now, when we vote, whatever we're voting on is recorded. That's fine. We shouldn't hide that, but I think we need to understand what we're saying along with the vote. That's all my.
I think what worries me too is right now in this current era we're in, there's a lot of distress and anger, and publishing that may increase the concern level, and instead of helping to educate, we could be doing the opposite. And you know, I think we'll all do better if we don't have that distress and whatnot influencing people. I still don't know how I'm going to vote.
I don't either. But the amendment was just to try and separate
Yeah.
whether we put individual names on all these votes or whether we put just a total number. That's what the amendment is about.
When I was a CPC chair for a number of years, there were 2 or 3 times at town meeting where as the person who was presenting the articles that CPC had voted on, I was asked to explain the vote, because the vote was, say, 6-2 or something like that. And back then, we weren't recording down to the individual level, but we were, of course, recording the vote in aggregate, and you know, that seemed to work fine, I mean, as far as I could tell. But yeah, we hadn't gotten to this point of sharing who did what to who. But at the same time, if they really wanted to know, then they can ask that on town floor, and it will get answered. Yes, Dan?
Yeah, and I don't see this amendment changing that at all.
Yeah,
If
I don't-
anybody asks at town meeting, we're gonna,
Yeah.
people will say,
Yeah, I'll blame it on you.
I just think administratively and keeping track of it all, that this is gonna work better this way than the other way. But
Remember that.
I mean, my only other motion would be to definitely postpone it, but so, I'm trying to have a positive motion, but I can't deal with the word individual.
Anything else?
Just,
On the amendment.
I think procedurally, so if there was going to be a main motion, it probably should be understood that it would be advisory in nature, number one, and that it would be to record the individual names. It would be consistent, I think, with the petition article as received. So you probably should ask for a main motion to see if there was consideration. If that doesn't work, then a alternate to that certainly would probably be in order.
Well, we have a main motion and we have an amendment to that main motion. The amendment is to strike out the word individual and put total. The main motion is to accept and adopt.
Right.
But did you get a motion and a second on that? I
Yeah.
thought you only got a motion and a second on yours, Dana. That's my.
No,
On the
Started
amendment?
out with the motion in a second, then Dana
Yeah,
amended it.
yeah, I amended it after the main motion.
Okay, sorry.
anything further? All right, figure it out.
So first on the amendment,
On the amendment, that's right, on the amendment. All in favor say aye.
aye.
That three?
1, 2,
Four.
3. Did you
Yeah.
vote?
Oh,
Yes?
Yeah, I'm with you,
So that's
Angela,
4.
and Dan. 4.
42.
Against?
4-4,
4 to 2.
4-2. Okay,
That was on the amendment.
right.
So now we have a main motion that's amended to say, accept and adopt with the word individual stricken. And the word total put in.
Is there a motion?
That's already been made.
Oh, it's
So
been
you
made,
just
okay,
need
that's
to,
right, 'cause it's
need to
motion.
discuss it and vote it.
Right. Discussion, any discussion? Tom?
We just voted on the amendment.
Yes.
Okay, so the amendment says to strike out
Individual,
individual.
right.
Right,
Okay, and that passed.
yes.
So does that not make the original motion a moot point? Because if 4 out of 6 say we don't want that word in there, then how can we vote on the original that has the word in there?
Because we're
We
voting
make,
on the
we
amended.
make the motion first.
motion.
Finance
Okay.
Committee makes a motion first.
Mm-hmm.
So our motion will be to accept and adopt with the following change. Strike
Okay.
out the word
Yeah.
individual.
Okay,
Yeah, we're just
Right?
the main motion.
Yep.
okay, so we're back to that with the amendment.
Rather than
Okay,
indefinitely
just making
postpone.
sure I'm on the.
Yeah, no, that's fine, it's fine, Tom.
Okay.
Okay?
So we just need to vote on that.
Okay, ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
4 to 2.
4-2.
Record my name.
Yeah, good. Tom Sherry.
No way, no way.
All right,
So we have accepted
next
and
one?
adopted that one
With the change.
with the change. And you can see we've done that to 2 others. On the pet burial ground, we have an amendment, and one other one. On adopt the rules and regs for cemeteries, we have an amendment. No, I'm sorry, for the select board to, selectmen to select board, we have an amendment. So we've done that on 2 others, this will be the 3rd one.
okay.
The next article that we have no position on is complete the construction of the pet burial grounds, and I think we keep tripping over the money. So, just to discuss it again, I move we reconsider Article 59.
There a second, Dan? Second from John, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
I think we have some new information,
Well,
or
I
some,
wish we had new information. I did raise this with Attorney Giorgio, that in terms of the request, could we fund, the 70,000 has already been paid, and this is just a reimbursement, and then the 60,000 to basically finish the project. And really, the question was, can you, if you have an authorization to accept up to 140,000, which I think is what the motion is for the acceptance of money in that account, if we don't receive that money all in the same year and it takes 2 years to do, can we then take 2 years to fully pay everything back? And he needed to look at it. So I apparently stumped him so he didn't have that off the top of his head.
We stumped the panel, this is good.
Wow.
He needed to go back and look at that element of, can we do it over multiple years?
Okay, so will we know that next week when we, I'm
I-
planning to meet
I'll do my
next
best to
Thursday.
try to get an answer from him on that. I do think the reality, though, the one thing that is clear is that because we are setting it up as a revolving account, he said that you can only spend what comes in.
What's in it, right.
So if we don't make enough, I did also have the conversation with him about the article for funding it, and he did say, and I know Dana has said this, we could fund the 60,000 to finish it from a different funding source, free cash or what have you, and then reimburse the whole amount as the money comes in.
I guess the issue for me on along those kind of lines, or some other thought, is that I think it's better to stay as clean as we can right now. And I don't think the town wants to hear that we took it from here and from there and over there and, you know, things like that. I think we ought to just bite the bullet and say, when we have everything set up and the money in hand and et cetera, and we'll do the right thing and then we can get it done.
And I did check on that, and that certainly is permissible
Yeah.
to do. So on the funding source for the article on the 130, it would be from the proceeds of the revolving account that voted the article before.
That's good, that's cleaner. Ooh, I don't know. Dana?
Whatever. And my only problem with that is, it doesn't look like much of a pet burial grounds now. And you're gonna have to have over 600 pets buried there to reach the 60,000, right? $100 a pet. So it just, from a looks point of view, driving by it, wanting to sell plots in it, wanting to make money off of it, as we are hoping to do, finishing it would be a I would hate to lose a season on the grass. I would hate to lose, I mean, there's so much stuff that needs to be done in the spring, that needs to be done right away,
Right.
as soon as this is voted and money starts coming in. Why would we wait for that? Why are we gonna put this off till fall and you're gonna lose another growing season? I mean, it just seems to me that there's stuff that needs to be done right away, and that takes a small capital infusion. If we get to this point in the meeting, we've already passed a lot of other things to get to here. I mean, there's gonna be support for it. I just think spending 60 grand out of available funds or free cash to finish it is much more clean, and then pay everything back over time than the other, but that's just my opinion.
Angela?
I have a different set of problems. I think what's going to happen in town meeting is people are going to want to understand how many total pet sites are there, how much is allocated in terms of feet or square feet for each one. Are we going to end up with 200,000 burials or 12? How long is it going to take to do each of the, we need a P&L for this project is what we need. Is that what you, it sounded like, and if we don't have the answers, or if the cemetery department doesn't have those answers, I don't think the town meeting would be very supportive. Because if you run into people, they keep on saying, you know, we need hundreds and hundreds of burials to come up with any money. And I went through 14 conversations in this room on this, and I don't have an idea. It keeps on changing. You know, I just heard 600 for the first time in terms of bodies that you need.
Pets.
Explain yourself.
Well, I'll take a little bit of a stab. I know Robin has done a layout, and she has a number of spaces, or plots, sorry. So I think we have that number, so we can show that number. In terms of the question, I mean, you know, as the administrator, if the town votes it, it would be, at least my approach, that when we did the bid originally, we were able to do those walkways in sections. So if we raised 20,000, then we could do a section to start selling even more lots. And, you know, I think if we want to move forward, DPW certainly can grow grass, and there's certain things that we would try to do in-house.
Golf course
To
could do
get
that,
that, yeah, we could have the golf go over
We
there.
know about grass.
But I think if town meeting votes it and it's clear to move forward, I think we could try to find ways to expedite so the sale can occur in a expeditious way.
That information that you, has to be
Yeah,
prepared.
she's done that with Carol in terms of the number of spaces, so that certainly is available.
John?
Just a couple, a few quick things. Well, this, I guess Robin's gone before some board for a permit to do what she did. She needed to get a permit to do what she did. How will that affect you? Any idea on that?
Yeah, I actually was made aware of that the other day, so I will be going to planning board, and what she needs is a site plan review to kind of show what she's going to construct. I think that if there had not been a gazebo, a structure that was in that, it's kind of questionable as to whether she would have had to go for a planning board review. But I have been advised that because the gazebo was there, she does need to have planning board review. So she's going 2 weeks, I think, or not next week, that we'll be going and presenting it. She should have done it proactively and not, you know, after the fact.
Tom?
Oh, go ahead.
I had a couple more.
Oh, I thought he was-
One is on this grass data. I don't know how that grass is going to grow without a sprinkler system. There is no sprinkler system on that property. There's water on that property to fill up a jug, but there's no sprinkler. So that's another huge capital cost. And using town resources to do things over there should have been presented or figured into her business plan, which I have not seen still. 2 years I've been asking for a business plan. I have not seen a business plan or a profit and loss statement. 2 years. So it's to Jack's point of keeping it clean, we've got to keep this thing clean. We can't take money out of free
There's
cash.
too much sensitivity right now to not be clean.
So
Tom?
Just to piggyback onto your permits, there is a electrical service there and there is a water service there. Were there permits drawn for that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to bring her in here next week?
Might
Well,
help.
does that help?
Huh?
Does that help?
I don't think it's going to help. I think we can bring her in, but
All right. Dana?
I can just say that to grow grass, you need loam and seed and initial watering over a 3-week period. You don't need to have sustained watering. None of our cemeteries that I'm aware of have sprinkler systems throughout them. It's called Cape Cod lawn. As long as you get it off to a good start, it will establish itself, and it can take a lot of droughts. I've grown grass on Cape Cod for many, many years as a landscaper, so I at least know that part. If you want a plush lawn, that's different. But to do what a cemetery needs, just getting it off to the right start over 3 weeks with
about
some
above
watering
ground.
and stuff can be
Above-
done. So I'm not arguing that, but if there's, I mean, if you're comfortable that you're not going to be caught in a position where you're going at the end of the year saying, we didn't make some number, or we didn't do that, we have to now transfer money to cover up what we did at the cemetery, then I don't see putting any free cash in there. But if we want to get it done and done right, prior to fall or next year or whenever, I think it takes some money to do that. I don't know. If you're comfortable where you are, I'm fine with that, but I just trying to help out and
You
think,
can
keep
water,
us from.
you can water 6 months with the town water stanchion on the lot. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge fire hose, it just, so it's a sprinkler. And that's good enough to start,
Sure is.
I think.
How's
Could
it
you
going
do that
again,
again for the camera? I
That's
like
right.
the symbols too, that's good.
Got the rhythm, man, I got the rhythm.
So right now, we have no motion, so I would say we're probably at a point where we want to go back to and definitely postpone and maybe hear more information or see what more
Yeah.
is at stake, or do we want to go forward?
I think you're right.
Are we bringing people back, or
Who's,
are we
um,
taking a
who-
position?
Whose motion is this? Is this cemetery? Or?
I think
or what?
originally it was Cemetery Commission.
Okay, all right. All right, do we have a motion?
We don't?
Sounds like we have a not recommended pending further information.
I move we make no recommendation pending further information.
We can
That's what you
second
have
that.
now.
Is there a second?
Well, we reconsidered it and we voted to reconsider it, so I'm bringing that back
Second.
procedurally.
Second.
We reconsider.
Second from John. Thank you, John. Any further discussion on this delightful idea? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
6-0.
Unanimous. Thank you.
We went from
What?
5 to 1 to 6 to 0 on recommendation. And then the last three is the stabilization fund, we don't have a final number for that. The OPED trust fund, we don't have a final number with that.
You know, I think what I would like to do is Carol and I can get together and just make sure we get the numbers in terms of where we are, and we'll bring those for the next meeting. I don't think that the, you know, certainly the stabilization number can probably be kind of set. The OPEB number was going to be a little bit driven by, or no, actually OPEB was going to be set, and then stabilization was going to be set by how much we needed for snow and ice. So we can probably hone in on a little better number.
Right now, just estimated costs is
Yeah,
400,000.
I think we should be able to we're getting closer now, so we should be able to have better numbers on those pieces.
Dan?
I guess my own personal feeling is I don't like the idea that we keep dropping the stabilization. We originally, and you've always done this, started out there like 50-50. You put some here and some here. But whenever money gets to be robbed, it gets robbed out of the stabilization fund, and I'd rather get it robbed out of OPEB myself.
Yeah.
In terms of this year, we have a $500,000 shot coming in from the state, and we've got a big, I would rather see it just go 50-50, whatever's left, myself.
Yeah,
But that's-
just two things on that. Number one, it's not from the state, it's actually from Cape Cod Municipal Health Group that the
Okay,
520 is
I
coming. So
apologize.
it's our original money.
Yeah.
That's okay. The second is, about 2 years ago, I didn't have the wording quite right on OPEB funding. So we actually put $1.7 million in stabilization and put nothing into OPEB.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm trying to catch up a little bit on OPEB, it doesn't really bother me, because I really shorted myself, or not myself, but, you know, got shorted because of the language issue, so I didn't put as much in that year. So the fact that we're a little bit out of balance and putting a little bit more on OPEB, I don't think is a bad thing. And plus, I think for audit purposes and for Moody's purposes or Standard & Poor's purposes, more money going into OPEB probably is a little bit more advantageous to us from a financial standpoint than putting more money into stabilization.
I'll argue with that, but not tonight. And then the last one is the fund prior year unpaid bills. Do we have any, or are they showing up, or we have some?
We do have some, and there, I believe the dollar amount is in the wording of the article. We don't have any other.
I have $1,000.
Yeah.
Is that it? So I would move to reconsider Article 68.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Unanimous?
move that we accept and adopt Article 68, $1,000 coming from available funds. Free cash?
Free cash.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second, so I have a motion.
I
Do
made
have
the
a
motion.
Did you?
He
Second
seconded.
down there, John?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
So we're knocking the list down.
That's the idea.
1,
Any,
2, 3, 4, 5 left.
Okay, which ones?
The snow and ice, the shortfalls on the budget transfers, we haven't got any final numbers on complete construction of the burial grounds, stabilization, and OPEB. Those are the five.
So that pretty much covers the waterfront, doesn't it?
Yeah, it covers everything but those 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you,
Just, are you gonna send, the motions that you have over? I'll start putting the combined list together. I had a meeting the other day with John Giorgio, and I told him I would start shipping motions over to him sooner than later.
the 3 amendments that we're talking about?
Yeah.
One of them, I tried to put all the elements in our actual
In
reason.
the reasoning?
Yeah,
I'll
so.
look at it. I just
That
wanna
was
start
for the cemetery rules, but I can write up what we've done.
I'll start putting them on the cards, just get prepped. for
Yeah.
that, and have him look at
Cards,
it.
it's all in the cards.
Is there anything we need to take action on now? Where are
I
we?
don't, did you vote minutes
No.
when you first got here?
Let's stick with this for a minute.
Okay,
I have a question. Article 65, spending limits for revolving funds. Are there any hot buttons there other than, well, are there any hot buttons there for town meeting? Revolving fund topic?
You know, I think that has a possibility of having some discussion that late in the meeting, whether people really want to engage. I know Selectman Howell has been, on that topic about how much are we spending. I think we did have, and Carol distributed out tonight, on the revolving accounts for
Yeah.
recreation. You get a sense, the question was, what are we spending the money on, and why is this being done through fees instead of through taxation? And I think this is the answer, at least in the form of recreation, and we will start to duplicate that for the other revolving accounts, so that way there's a higher level of credibility, so people know what we're getting.
Yeah.
In general, I think I've said this before, since Proposition 2.5 came into effect, there has been a move through municipalities throughout Massachusetts for the entire time I've been in this profession to move towards fee-driven as much as they can, and a little bit away from taxes, to try to help to kind of stabilize things. So the trend here is no different than any other community that, quite honestly, I've worked in. That wasn't an explanation because it generated 2
I wanna-
questions.
Go ahead, Angelo.
Okay. I'm just taking this.
Don't attack pickleball.
As an example, the indoor soccer revenue, it says that there are staff, equipment, scholarships, total expenses.
Mhm.
Does that expense, is that really total expenses? Does that have all staff benefits in it? Does it have overheads, does it have lights, electricity, gas, water, the use of cars? Or is this just a cookie?
So I'll take a stab and then I'll let Carol add. In general, on these, we are trying to capture, we have a general element where we have like I think a $5 fee that gets attached to these for facilities in an effort to try to capture all those costs. But this is not the private sector. We're not trying to capture all indirect costs that are included. So, the answer to your question is no, it does not. This is just direct program costs, not the indirect costs. In terms of some of these,
I'm not talking about indirect costs, I'm talking about direct costs.
Yeah.
Lights are direct costs.
well,
You know, the guy cleaning up the building after, and sweeping the floor after kids get out of it, that's a direct cost. How much time the head of the department provides is a direct cost. The benefits that any of these people are paying, I think are direct costs.
yeah, just through you, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in answer to that, in the private sector, that's 100% true. In municipal accounting world, we have direct costs and direct costs, and then those overhead costs are considered to be indirect. So it's a separate budget, and we do not offset all the elements of those indirect costs.
That's unfortunate, because it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't cover all the costs. I mean, would you want that?
Costs,
It covers, in the municipal accounting world, direct costs related to the program.
13, 14.
It's a question that's been asked numerous times. I know I've given the same answers numerous times. But we're not the private sector, so it's,
Has nothing to do
the-
with the private sector. Every time you say that.
So there's 5 left.
Private sector. If you ask them how much it costs them to take their trip to their grandmother's house.
We voted that, we
If
voted.
you, your car, in this,
Oh,
and that,
alright.
put the cost
2,
together.
3.
And I think we can put the cost together too. And you ask if we were realistic rather than just playing this game.
And even though I'm a corporate person, apparently, I agree with him. Just, it's not, it's a fees thing, and I think people really should pay part of their fees, part of the fees for what they're enjoying in the town. Okay, and thank goodness we had the Community Preservation Act to help us do that wonderful work at Brooks Park. But you know, the taxpayers paid for it through the CPA, and you know, at some point, we're gonna have to do some repair work or something. We have to pay again, so the users ought to be paying for a chunk of that.
and just, you know, not just, this isn't just administration, it is municipal finance, so I'm following municipal finance. We
Yeah.
have had discussions with the selectmen
Yeah.
in terms of that. Do they want us? Certainly, there is a means to do it. If we operate an enterprise account, then we have to recover all those costs. The enterprise account requires that we do that. And the Board of Selectmen, at least in the time I've been here, have said for operations such as recreation, we want to subsidize those operations and not recover all of our costs through fees.
It's okay not to recover all of it. I would never argue that I want all of
I'm
it.
just saying that's,
You know, that-
I
yeah.
follow the policy direction of the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, I understand. Thank you. Dana?
On the fees, I kind of agree with the conversation, the way it's going, but I wish there was a way, a mechanism to have a percentage of this go into the general fund to cover all of it. I mean, in many ways, the general fund gets attacked and watered down, and it used to be everything went in there, and it gave you a lot more flexibility. Now, people get to enjoy these things, these programs and so forth, or whatever it is, through any of the 20 different fees or 14 different revolving funds. None of that money's going to the general fund to cover the general kind of stuff that goes with that, what Angelo brought up as costs.
Right.
Like we did with,
To that point, in the time that I've been here, not to say I've been difficult, try not to be difficult, but we have instituted a $5 fee for all these programs that go towards the community center, which actually is part of the general fund that does try to offset some of the cost and try to start to capture some of those costs.
but does that happen with every revolving account? Does some of the golf money go into the general fund? Does some of the
Right now,
burial,
it's
pet
primarily
burial
focused
funds,
on
will that go
recreation.
into?
Right now, it's primarily focused on recreation.
Dan?
Just a general question. Does the town charge back any of these funds for indirect costs?
Under Mass General Law, only if we do an enterprise account are we legally required to do that. We're not required to do that. These are called offset receipt accounts, and we're not required to do the full amount on those,
And we don't.
and we don't.
Antoine?
Yeah, see, the problem is, if I get this paper, in town meeting, and look down, what this tells me is that in terms of indoor soccer, the revolving fund, the town, the revolving fund makes $230 on that project. And you keep on going up, and it makes all sorts of money. That's not true. You know, and I think people in town meeting don't understand that those numbers are exactly appropriate for the accounting procedure you have to follow, but it doesn't provide the right information. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement,
I know,
but it
I
is an
just-
intentional policy to do so.
It's just not.
So were you here when I announced that Lori and now Bonnie Kenny have resigned from the FinCom?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, I came into my mail today, this afternoon, in fact.
Wow.
Are they
Work.
effective immediately?
No, Lori said she would stick in until after town meeting, or after her term, excuse me. And Bonnie, I haven't had a chance to ask that question, but I was going to focus on contacting Ford, because that's the hardest thing in our whole, in our whole committee efforts.
The reason I say that is because we leave for Texas for grandmother birthdays, and we'll be back on the 25th.
25th of April?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when is your
I'll
next?
try to find out tomorrow.
When's your next meeting here, Jack?
I'd like to schedule, I think, a meeting for next week,
Next Thursday?
Next
Yeah.
Thursday?
and then, you know, obviously the ones for town meeting.
Yeah.
Before.
I'm gonna make sure we get those
Yeah,
posted.
okay, 18th,
18th is next Thursday.
yeah, 18th.
I already have, actually, just
Okay.
haven't finalized it.
Okay.
We'll try to have those numbers on snow and ice and see if we can
Thank
lock
you.
those last things down for the next meeting.
5 down. 60.
Thank you. Anything else? Kara?
The recreation revolving fund, I provided that report for you for a particular reason.
Uh-huh.
Because they have a spending cap, or spending maximum, that's set at town meeting for revolving funds. And if a revolving fund is gonna go over that maximum spending amount, they have to come to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee for approval.
Right.
The Recreation Director prepared that report that I provided to you for the Board of Selectmen based on what they had requested for information. And so they have approved the increase of the maximum spending amount to $175,000. And we're asking you to do this, if you would consider the same,
That's for this
For
year,
this
right?
fiscal year.
just for this year only.
So
The
we
new
would need
number-
to put that on the
new
agenda for
number
next
is
week.
already in the warrant for next year.
Next year. So we would need to agenda that for next week? I mean, unless you want to take it up under, we don't really have a
Do
mechanism
you
for
want to, do you need
tonight.
it tonight, or do we do it next week?
We can do it next week.
Is that okay? All right. Good.
I'll make sure. it's
Anything
on.
else, folks?
And
Dana?
I asked for, I sent out 4 packages of minutes to,
I just have one more thing after.
Oh,
You
yeah.
finish, please finish.
okay, I sent out 4 sets of minutes. If anybody found problems or whatever, or would like to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
March 18th, March 26th, March 28th, and April 2nd.
A motion and a second?
I shouldn't make the motion for my
No,
own minutes.
no.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as
Okay,
printed.
that's what I was looking for.
And Dana, you're seconding? Or Angela, second?
Angela,
See it
Out
under,
of revenues.
yeah.
Any discussion, any corrections or anything like that? Being
what
none,
a
all in
fine
favor,
set of minutes they were.
being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. Thank you for the good pace tonight.
One thing,
We're getting close. Yes, Chris?
with your indulgence.
Yes.
At Monday night's Board of Selectmen's meeting, the selectmen voted a schedule for the non-union employees that was a little higher than what we had budgeted for. So what you have in front of you, and they did vote it because they wanted to make it consistent with the union schedule for management that was voted previously. So it has put the budget out of balance by $16,000. So you can see the adjustment. So we will do this as budget amendment number 4, 5?
I have it as 4.
Carol has it as 4. So this would be budget amendment number 4. In terms of the numbers, so there's 7,000 in reduction on police salaries. So when they went through, there was some adjustments made to that. The adjustments on the salaries, which now are consistent with the schedule that the Board of Selectmen voted on Monday, is about 16,000. The delta difference, when you go to the sheet, we had left probably about 15,000, or I'm sorry, almost 20,000 in there. So we are able to fund it through the available funds that we had in the budget. So you had asked Jack at the Monday night meeting of the Selectmen just to translate everything that happened from the new schedule, and we have done that. I wouldn't say we, Carol's done that.
And this, just so that you know, this also affects the water enterprise fund budget as well, so that will need to have it amended too.
And yeah, where the budget has already been, the books are at the publisher, it's already being published, so we'll have to make an amendment in the main
Main motion.
motion for the town meeting.
All right. And you want to talk about the, I think it was May 3rd? The-
Yeah, for, if you're gonna have a majority there, we do some people remember this, a pre-town meeting. So what I do is I try to get together and get all the motions, and have town attorney, John Giorgio, go through all those motions to make sure we have town meeting organizationally run smoothly. And on the Friday before, I think we scheduled at 9 o'clock, that usually the chair of the Board of Selectmen, the chair of Finance Committee, Administration, Finance,
Mike Ford.
Michael Ford, and Anita, we specifically go over every motion that's going to be presented to town meeting. I try to corral the citizen petition ones to make sure that we have things at least be orderly. And then we'll go through that, and then usually there's a few changes that come out. But in order to have the motions receive final approval, really Mike Ford needs to be comfortable with all the motions that are made, and John Giorgio.
Right.
But there have been revisions, usually right up to almost the night of town meeting, on some of these motions.
I would appreciate it if we could have a quorum for that.
This is
Those of
for-
you who can make it.
May 3rd,
Yeah,
May 3rd at
May 3rd.
9
9, or AM?
AM. I don't think you've ever had usually it's been the chair. If
Yeah.
you want to have a chair and vice chair or something, I think that's.
Yeah. I
But
think
you don't need to have everyone there, just.
I'll be working.
I have to, Chris, my main objective is that these newbies get exposed to this thing, and, you know, learn about another phase of what we do and what we try to prevent. Okay? So,
Where is it on
It will be in the Selectmen's meeting room. And if people want, there literally will be probably 10 revisions to the motions between when I get the first draft done to the final. And if people are interested, usually give John Giorgio kind of the first crack to make sure I didn't go too far afoul. And then I can distribute it. So, you know, I would encourage people, because it's usually me doing most of it, that if you see something or if you see a typo, you know, let me know so I can make it. So generally, when we go to town meeting the last several years, we've been pretty clean in terms of the motions and having it run smoothly.
I
But
rec-
every
I
set
rec-
of eyes is a good thing.
I recognize that it may be difficult for people who are working versus retired, and people who are flying down to watch the Masters or whatever. But if I could, I need, 9 is the official number, so I need 5. Okay, and there's only 7 of us, so, you know.
I can make it, John.
Okay, good.
Can you please send out a note to us?
Sure, absolutely.
You probably want to post that
Yeah, I
as
was
a
gonna,
meeting then.
And
I wrote
please,
it down to post
If you
it.
can't make it because there's something pressing, fine, I mean.
Is it held in there?
Yes.
Yes.
It's usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most.
It's usually interesting. I always found it interesting. Angela?
Jack, can I change the subject for a moment?
Sure.
At our meeting with Chatham, which I think was a good and appropriate meeting, Dana had prepared a document, which I thought was sort of, he didn't mean to prepare it. He's got
He
some
did
num-
prepare it.
He's got some numbers here that are interesting. And I think it's one of the reasons we've been going around and around on all the numbers. If you go back to the year 2000, our population was 12,858 people. You go to 2018, it's 12,774 people. So there's a lack of growth. It's minus. In the year 2000, if I'm reading this right, the total budget for the town is $29,118,771. If you go up to 218, it's $63,863,954. It's absolutely amazing in what's happened over that time. And obviously not to, because we have a ton more people. And I think that's the concern a lot of people have. What's going on with their taxes, et cetera.
Ag-
pay the inflation as something, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
It was interesting.
Time to call it quits. Thank you.
I'm glad you read it.
Motion to adjourn from Dan, second from Tom. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
Are we done?